'cause I'm looking in your eyes, but I can't say why.
The barn is on fire. The barn is on fire. The barn is burning. That was a barn burner. All three matches that we have seen have gone the full regulation, if not more. Utter insanity off the back of last Friday night, man. Why am I not surprised?
I know, it's been insane. I'm just glad that I can talk right now. If only you guys could see the reactions I was having in that last round. I'm trying to like frantically unplug and plug my mic back in, and I'm just throwing my hands in the air out of excitement. Like, that was insane.
Nuts, man. Absolutely nuts. And what a way to finish the match. And I think, you know, just to recap for everyone who may have missed that, it was a 1v4. Plant denial by a cheeky little defender, and I can't remember who it was, but just yeeted out of there the second he got the kill. Over and done with, and I think that that kind of caps off what was a really fun match to watch, Raven.
It was a fun match, and I mean, it wasn't necessarily cleanest Siege, because both teams were trying some special things, some strats coming out on both sides that, I mean, you wouldn't normally see or were a bit risky, just trying to get their team the win. And in the end, it really came off that. Like, I think it was Hotshot on the smoke. He just tried a risky play in the end. He was the last one alive against 3. It worked.
Yeah. And that's just the way the cookie crumbles, I guess.
Yeah.
So let's we can move on from that now and what has been the past 3 matches, because this is the match. I cannot stress that enough. LFO is who we're going to be starting off looking at. I don't think we really need to talk too much about the players, Raven. We know that they're all incredible. Hills has been good. Nasty, who has been a sub in the past 2 play days, he went off on Friday night. But I really want to bring attention to what has been LFO's season. They have played, what's that, 1, 2, 3? They had 4 7-4 results, so close games against the best teams in ANZ. They had a full regulation match against Noble, and they have just been so unfortunate in what has been a turbulent season, to say the least.
Turbulent is a great way to describe it, honestly. It has been up and down for them. I would say, like, conversely to Rhythm, LFO haven't necessarily always had some of the closer matches. Some of their losses have been a little bit more devastating, and they just haven't felt like they've connected. Nasty, though, coming in on Friday last week against Elevate, stellar performance. Really was the difference for this roster, and they've brought him back again.
Yep, they certainly have. So doubling up and potentially taking the fight to Ferox, who for the opponents that they're going up against. And you look at the team, you see very familiar faces. Shade, Sushi, Todd, Nazgul, and Oda. They have been playing out of their minds this season as well. They're currently sitting at only 2 wins, considering what has really gone on. Last play day, they went 7-8. They lost 7-8 against Wildcard. That just goes to show the kind of season that they've had.
It is. And look, they have had a great season. They were another team that we had put in the bottom 2 in predictions to be there with Rhythm. And they came out of the gate swinging. They've had some huge matches, taken down some good opponents. Honestly, this roster is shaping up very nicely. And I'm a little worried for LFO here. I'm going to say it early, I'm kind of leaning towards Ferox for this one.
Yeah, I think that has been where we've led to, and it not just by, you know, the players and everything, but Ferox have just really doubled down this season and looked quite a tight-knit unit. And again, a 5-7 against Noble, a 5-7 against Knights. Like, all of these games are really close. They beat Akami 7-3. Now, potentially that was when Akami were at, let's say, their weakest, so we can kind of excuse that. It was also on Villa, which potentially just really Akami didn't play into all that well. But at the end of the day, there's no taking away the season that Ferox have had.
Oh, they've definitely had a good season. There's no taking away from that. And I feel like with Ferox, it's a similar story to Rhythm. They've had so many great performances against good teams. Overtime with Wildcard just on Friday last week. It feels like it's not fitting for them to be in relegations, but somebody's got to be here. And they're potentially in that position. This match will determine that.
Yep. Now, of course, let's have a look at the the determining factor of where we're going to go. Raven, I think potentially Club Oregon, maybe a cafe. Where are you leaning with this one?
I find it tough, honestly. Feel like I
Yeah.
haven't had a good gauge on LFO's map pool in particular all season. I'm going to say, just based on the strengths of Ferox, probably Club or Oregon.
Yep.
But I wouldn't be surprised if LFO try to take it to maybe a more aggressive map based on how they played last week. Maybe like a coastline.
I would love to see a coastline, please. The coast gods, take us to the pool, take us to the cliffside. Damn you, Ferox. We will be heading to Oregon for a third time tonight. Yep. We literally only saw Oregon, I think, for the first time in like Playday 4 or something. And ever since then, I feel like we see Oregon at least twice a night. So we are headed back there to finish the season off. Whew! I'm ready.
It's spicy. And yes, we've seen a lot of Oregon lately. It's, it was quiet at the start, but it's rotated in, maybe following some trends from like the likes of EUL, APAC North in particular, have had a lot of Oregon over the past few weeks. So maybe just seeing some of those straps and adapting in is what the teams down here have done.
Oregon, more like Morrigan. Get it? Because it's like more and Oregon mixed together.
Nice. Good one, mate.
You can take that one and put it in the back pocket, because that, like, honestly, I am pretty keen to see this matchup. I think that's, if we haven't stressed it enough, and I really don't think I actually stressed it enough when we were talking about it, this match is do or die for both of these teams. This is the relegation fight. If you lose this, you are potentially out of Oceanic Nationals for 2021. Really big consequences. And if you make it to playoffs, if you look at the results from these teams, you actually have a chance in what will be the Oceanic National playoffs next weekend. Like, there is no doubt in my mind that LFO or Ferox could do some serious damage against the teams like Akami, like Pittsburgh Knights, like Wildcard. You know, it's one of these seasons where everything's out on the line.
Yeah, absolutely. And now that we know who third place is going to be, with Elevate getting that victory, barring any other math that I'm not aware of at least, the winner of this will probably play Elevate in the first game. Ferox didn't fare too well with that. LFO beat them. So
yes,
I'll tell you what, could be an interesting first game for either of these guys.
That's pretty spicy. Let's have a look at what the predictions are like. I really think that this has to be split, surely. A
little bit.
Jeez, we are not giving LFO a fair shout, I don't think. But I need to reiterate, the season that Ferox have had in Oceanic National Stage 2 has been heads and shoulders incredible, and such a polar opposite season from Six Masters.
It has. It really has. I guess that's the story for both sides, right? LFO had a good Six Masters, and they've had a really not great Oceanic Nationals. So quite a flip from both teams. As you see with the predictions, of course, there is some love for LFO. If you want to talk about the numbers here, myself, Gaz, and Xenox all on 17. If LFO win, Gaz is going to be the snowball predictions winner. So
oh no,
we really don't want that. That's probably even more dire than being in relegation. So
sorry, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Enigma. I don't care about anything else. Ferox have to take this win. They have to take this dub, because I cannot have Guz being the leader of the snowball predictions, because that would not be fair. I'm just saying that much. But the last two times that these teams have played, they went one apiece. It was 7-2 on Coastline for LFO, and then traded back 7-4 on Clubhouse for Ferox. So that again reiterates what kind of competition we're going to be coming up against. Yes, that was almost a season ago now, but it's still very similar. And I do think that it is favoring Ferox. And once we do get into the matchup, it just comes down to who's in on the day. We know the map, we just don't know the bands. Once we've got that, storyline set, Raven.
Yeah, and look, I think this is a tight game that could come down to how the bands play out. In terms of the map, I'm finding it hard to split. I've just been thinking about it constantly as you've been talking. I'm like, who does this map favor? I'm still leaning towards Ferox. But like, after seeing what LFO did against Elevate on Cafe on Faye, I wouldn't put it past them to have figured out some just interesting little strats or some kind of play style that is enough to catch Ferox off guard to sneak away with a win. I can still feel like that's possible.
And I think that it's very much, let's play into that storyline a little bit, because the game against Elevate on Friday, LFO were just ridiculously aggressive and unpredictable. And, we heard that in the actual interview from Digital. He was like, man, we had no idea what they were trying to do because they were just breaking things left, right, and center, and we never knew their position. And potentially this may be what LFO look to do again. And if they, the thing is, even if they don't, Ferox have to be aware and have to be on their toes the entire game, because LFO can change it at the last second, right? That is the possibility of what happens here. Both of these teams have played incredibly well on Oregon. They've had a decent season. Ferox have had an incredible season, and it all comes down to this. It's on the line. Relegations loom so large, I can't even begin to explain. The winner of this will solidify playoffs in the Oceanic Nationals and escape relegation. It is LFO and Ferox. We're headed to Oregon.
Headed to Oregon indeed. So let's see how our season ends, our regular season ends. Who will we be putting into relegations? I am still totally on the fence here. And that Thatcher ban, I don't think it's going to make too much of a sway. Nothing these guys aren't all ready to deal with, and probably quite classic here on Oregon. Capital also from LFO coming out, something they've noticed that Ferox have used a bit. Look, nothing dramatic right now from these bans, but I want to touch on Ferox. Their playstyle, I think, is suitable to deal with the way LFO played against Elevate. Ferox can also dial up the strange aggression and the interesting little plays, if you want to call them that. So I think, it could be a real competition of very similar playstyles.
Yep, so Malusi and Wamai will be banned. Both of those operators we've seen have quite a large impact on Oregon Raven.
We have. Wamai in particular, I think, is another, again, we talked about it earlier, it's an impactful ban on Oregon. It does have a big impact in towards blue. The Malusi ban, on top of that, can have an impact on how that part of blue is taken. As we've seen earlier in the night, those Banshees can be very helpful with just delaying that quick push in to peek the corner with the shield. Mm-hmm. So both of those off the board, I think that does make a defense of the basement a little bit tougher.
Ayana, hello and welcome to Playday 7. We have not seen the Ayana at all, nor have we seen the Blitz. Well, we haven't seen an IQ either, so you know what? That's just as good. Thanks, Hills. But I do think that this could potentially be interesting. Enigma did obviously make comment on Ayana and how, not necessarily how LFO will use her, but more so what can be used in those kind of situations. That right there is a pretty spot-on community vote. It is very, very close. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, it's obviously a little too late now, but if you do obviously want to have your say in those community votes at Rainbow6ANZ on socials, but realistically, if you want any updates, that's where you're going to have to go.
Yep. 10 seconds left. One thing too is, look, this is the last game of the regular season. These guys are fighting to not be in relegation. So share your thoughts, hashtag OCN. I think it'd be great to be a part of the conversation. I'm really anticipating this to be an exciting game because it's just the nature of it, two teams that are fighting to stay out of relegations. And that is a big deal.
It certainly is. I think it's larger than most would give it credit for, considering the stakes that really are in it. Obviously, 3 teams do get an opportunity to play in the 6 major for the Oceanic region, and that will definitely have an impact on things later in the season. But regardless, this is where we've come down to. It is the last game of the Playday and the last game of the Oceanic National regular season. Only fitting that this is how it ends, but LFO will be on the attack. That is really not good for Ferox at all, and we know that there will be a rehost, but they're going to have to trek this out in a 4 versus 5, Raven.
Yeah, it was an important role too. I'm pretty sure that was the smoke player, right? I actually kind of missed who exactly DC'd, but I'm sure it was the smoke. But you're right, just having the lack of numbers for a whole minute 50 on this basement defense is going to be tricky here. So let's see what they've got. Sog's going to go in with the Gemini from the Yana. Oda just gets rid of that straight away. So importantly, that means Yana cannot use that ability for about 30 seconds. So that's not going to give LFO a whole lot of time to be able to deal with that or to be able to use that to their advantage again.
Thanks, Sushi, for the insider information. Oda, at the moment, he's stuck back. That is an aggressive C4, backed up by an even more aggressive peak. He might actually be able to find the kill here. No, that would have been a great way at evening the odds. I don't actually know whether that wall's reinforced either. That could be quite dangerous. Sushi's playing on the tight angle. Shade, in the meantime, fires a kill off camera. Nazgul tries to make a play. Sushi gets even more aggressive. Ferox are taking the fight to LFO. Unfortunately, it's not paying off right now. Not just yet, Raven. There's still a chance in it for Shade.
Shade has hit clutches like this before. You would not write him off in this situation. Remembers the mirror is facing that position so he doesn't finish the flank through blue. Nasty starts this plant. 4 seconds left on the timer as Hills is trying to cover. Shade legs it down the hallway. Doesn't see Hills in time though. He finishes off the round for LFO right as Todd returns. The timing of that is very unfortunate.
That is, I mean, I guess that means no rehos, so we should be good. Good. I was really hoping that we weren't gonna need to, potentially.
Well, let's see.
Hey! On you, Todd. But let's be completely honest here. They go down the player, right? And they go down the smoke, which is a huge hold for that basement defense.
Yep.
And I actually think in that position, Ferox just gamble everything there. You could see all those aggressive fights they were willing to take. Now, whether they would have done that with Todd still in that round, I think would be a different story, but it definitely made for an interesting round one, Raven.
It did. I agree with your analysis of that. I think Ferox has decided, we're already down a man. They're starting to pressure blue. Let's just get aggressive. Let's get in their face and not make them feel confident, because LFO will totally be a team like that, right? Even if they got a cheap freebie by Todd DCing. LFO, if they end up just running over the top of Ferox, they'll get that confidence. They'll feel like they can keep going. And you don't want to have that kind of momentum build. So by Ferox trying to get back and dictate the pace and just get up in their face, I think that was a good decision. It didn't work out, but when you do lose a player like that, you know, sometimes it is about just throwing it in and saying, let's just try everything.
Yep, just see what we can do. Now, one thing I think might be important to note, and Raven, please correct me if you think I'm incorrect here, but no wall denial. Obviously, we've got the impacts on Oda, but I don't really know whether we have too much wall denial outside of that for Ferox. And obviously, there's the games wall, there's the trophy wall, and also attic. So those will remain untouched. Oda might have put a Maestro cam in the closet. I highly doubt it, but that'll make things a little bit easier for LFO attacking.
It will, and LFO have only brought one hard breacher as well, so it's all about just being effective with these Selmas. They've set up the impact trick for closet, so there's no reason they might be able to impact trick 2 of these Selma charges, which means they'll only be able to use 1 to open master wall, and they can't get into attic. They'll have to try and funnel through the window. So this could have a real detrimental effect on the round. Oda hits the first one. Big deal here. These impact tricks could really force LFO into a tricky attack.
Really interesting from LFO as well. Whoa, Nasty. Okay, Nasty's not shy of trying to get in trophy and get in their face. Look at this. Control taken. Sure, go ahead and you can try to get these impact tricks up, but we will take quick control. And they are just neglecting attic altogether there. It's going to open, so game's now with a clear line of sight from bedroom. Oh, that's some vision as well.
Yeah, just heard the player, and I think the player heard the drone, so going to rotate away. Didn't see which player it was, but Shade hanging out in the basement. So now that LFO are aware of that, they're going to try and look for it. You see Hills' drone in hot pursuit down there. Shade's just not going to re-engage. Burn a little bit of time, but you're right. Nasty is being quite aggressive. Shade has finally been found by Sogs, and he's going to go and finish this off. No backup there for Shade in the end. So far, oh my god, he's still not finished off. Even used a nade and everything. Oh,
Sogs, he's being so careful right now. He really wants to ensure that he gets this kill scot-free. And off the screen, there are 2 big kills. That is going to be Oda and Nazgul gone. The Maestro, who we know is such a good anchor. That's done and dusted. Sushi and Todd left to try and pick up the pieces. Todd, okay, there we go. Little sparkle, a little moment of belief. They still are yet to take either player down, but they do know their positions. Makes things a little bit more awkward here, Raven.
It does, but 30 seconds, there's pressure on the attack now. They need to try and start getting the plant down. And as I say that, they do. They push deep. It's Mims on the double. Nasty closes it for LFO. They're 2 on the trot, and I'd say they're looking pretty good, but the first one was a bit of a gimme, so I'm going to hold judgment, but these attacks have looked decent.
Yep, they certainly have. I know for a fact they will be more than happy to take that regardless of whether they're given freebies or not. This will be solidified. Very interesting. Sogs is continuing to bring the Ayana, Raven. Definitely not an operator that we've seen a hell of a lot of.
No, it's something that they are hard sticking. Could be for the nades. And of course the info that you do get from the Gemini is important. But yeah, I don't know, it could be nades because now he's switching onto the Maverick, also has nades. Extra hard breacher could be nice because all on the ace does make it a bit tough.
Yep.
And yeah, we'll see. Ferox go back to the basement and Todd's on the smoke, so hopefully he stays in the server for the entirety.
Let's hope so, because they're going to need really everything back into this game. We've said literally just a couple of games ago that we said it was defender-sided, and then they went and lost. I'm pretty sure it was one of the games earlier where it was a 4-2 half. I'm just going to go back and have a look at my notes there just to make sure that I'm not telling fibs. So there you go. Akami, they won 4 straight on their defense against Wildcard earlier tonight, and then it was a 3-3 for Knight and Rhythm. So realistically, we do expect the defensive side to have a larger favor in this, and starting out 2-0 on the trot is definitely not a way that you want to get into this game.
No, definitely not. And like I was saying before, I think LFO in their current state right now, every time they string together rounds, they're just going to get confident. Their comms will probably stay a bit cleaner, because when you're playing with confidence, you generally don't start over communicating because you're not frantic, you're not freaking out. Yeah. So I think it's got to be important right now. Ferox, stay with LFO, keep them at check, and try to regain control, because it could really snowball.
Could not agree more with you, because both of these teams are capable of doing that. Once they start to get that momentum, once the wheels start rolling, things change a little bit. Nazgul, he's going to hold firm on the tier 1 stairs of tower, but he will back away and fall into the E room as well. So also the alibi being brought is an interesting change to what we've seen currently and recently.
Yeah, I feel like I can hear a couple of them being ticking away elsewhere. Just must have got shot somewhere.
Yeah.
Shade on that alibi. He's going to try and stay ever elusive, which Shade's very known for. And I'm sure LFO know about that too. So they're going to be trying to stay tight on their flanks. I'd say that's probably a big reason they're bringing the Nomad, other than the fact she's helpful regardless. But keeping someone like Shade at bay and not having to constantly monitor it, pretty important.
So at the minute 30 mark, Sogs, you don't want to be hearing that. Nazgul is trying to contest vertically, so at the very least, just putting a little bit of pressure there and ensuring that it's not had for free. And I honestly like that from Nazgul. You're not playing pillar, so you're not putting the pressure there. You may as well be looking to displace Sogs a little bit. It will get it open, and with really no sweat. And there goes the mirror window.
Now good control, and they're giving themselves a minute. This nade could be deadly here. Nope, doesn't hit the target, not cooked well enough. Player drops back. That's pillars that they can now take. There is a line of sight, though, a long one, in fact, that Oda is trying to hold from the double door. They don't have freezer control either, so this could be a heavy contest here. If they can't flush Oda away from this angle, and they can't get pillars, that's going to be tricky for them to be able to get into sight cleanly.
Certainly is. Todd still with the smoke babe left. Oda being able to drop down Sogs. Ferox stands strong in round number 3 here. 20 seconds left. Nasty, what can he get done? He's got far too many lines to try and play with. 2 players facing him. They're both going to drop hatch here and just Hail Mary it. They have been spotted and they will be taken out. A flawless round for Ferox and a much needed one at that.
Much needed indeed. And on top of that, we talked about just staying at bay with LFO and not letting them string rounds together. throwing a flawless round back in their face when you have all 5 of your players on the basement, I think that's a great way to be a bit anti-momentum. So that's a good result there from Ferox, and see if they can keep it going. They're going to go to kitchen dining. They're not even going to try top 4 again.
Interesting to see that as well. I mean, it did go horribly wrong. LFO looked like they completely ran over them in that instance, and regardless of momentum or anything, you definitely don't want to be seeing that. So down to the dining, as you mentioned, Raven, and Oda still, well, it's Oda this time, but going to be sticking on the alibi as well. And once again, this Valkyrie definitely seemed like a mainstay on Oregon.
I honestly agree with you. Valkyrie has been so highly picked. This Playday in particular, but in Oregon in general. Of course, that extra info from the Black Eye is really, really helpful. Outside cams can be great. Of course, back in the old Oregon days, the yellow bus or the windmill camera was incredibly helpful.
Potentially we've seen some cheeky little practice coming in for the individual players. But anyway, we'll wait and see what impact that Valk has had. We have seen already in the past 2 matches a fair bit of intel being played with on the defensive side. So, well worth it. There you go. That is going to be needed right out of games. And I believe that will actually land on the walling. There you go. It'll give a lot of vision to that bedroom rappel as well as the small tower, which it looks like that seems to be the main point there, Raven.
Yeah, we're not seeing an IQ come out either, so if they had no idea that Todd threw this cam, they would never think to look for it. So as long as there's no actual camera pings that come off that cam, LFO are never going to look for that. And it's getting a lot of info right now. They just saw Hills rappel up towards the double. They can see that Nate is just prone, safely at least, but it's just, yeah, it's getting a lot. So Todd, he seems keen. Actually, he found the angle onto Nate. Oh my god, good night, Nate. That is unfortunate. That's the fuser stuck outside too. Of course, they've got a lot of time to recover it. But, oh, so it's a good start for Ferox.
Certainly is. It's the ace as well, which we've seen be, once again, another mainstay on Oregon for that hard breach. But I think as well, they weren't able to spot that cam out. So how good's that from Todd? Very nice in round number 4 here to give them the advantage, and quite a large advantage at that. At Hills, he is gunning for the refrag here. Valk is still on the cam. Not for now. He'll go. Oh, what?
Oh, the timing.
No way.
Oh my gosh. The timing on that is nuts. And Nazgul comes up to help Todd. The team play there. That's Hills caught out by himself. Ferox are tightening this up. I tell you what. And now LFO with a minute 11. Got a 2-man deficit. Make it 3 as Sogs falls to Shade's hand. Looks like we might be heading to a 2-2 scoreline very soon, Manic.
Very much so. They have made their way into sight undetected. No. Wait to see how far Mims was able to get in before they spotted him. Nasty just trying to get whatever he can done. Mims will find one. The belief it's still there. Both players are low. Ferox do have a couple that are, let's say, lagging in the HP department. Mims gets saved by Nasty there. Raven, dare I say it?
They're both so low, like surely this is not possible. 25 seconds. Nasty on about 5 HP. He's got to try and plant while the dead Mims can't cover him. So all up to Nasty. It's going to be very tough. He's trying to push deeper, shoots a Prisma. That's going to end him. Todd finishes it off for Ferox. 2-2, we're all square again. And Ferox look pretty good those last 2 rounds.
They certainly do. It's been extremely convincing. LFO potentially... I don't want to say that Hills was overstepping in that situation there, but it did not look like they really had the information that was solid anyway, cemented information at that. And very quickly was it not even traded, but was it just squandered? And they will be going to kids back to dorms as we will see the Ayana again. I am enjoying it, honestly. And here comes the IQ. Okay. adaptation made from LFO.
And look, they had to, because those Valkyrie cameras outside, that was just too strong. Like Valkyrie in that previous round, getting that initial kill as easy as you like, you never want that. So I like the adaptation. It's now going to enable potentially more flanks though, or easier flanks, safer flanks, however you want to describe it, because they sacrificed the Nomad for it. So this all has a flow-on effect right now, how efficient that Valkyrie has been. And let's see whether it works out for them.
That's the other part, is you actually have to spot it on the IQ as well. It's no good just bringing it. So potentially with Todd's unspotted cam, there may be just an opportunity. It sneaks under the radar quite literally. I would not imagine it, however. This time on the dorm bedroom, we will see that wall denial in the form of Oda being brought rather than the Maestro. So Ferox just making small little changes to their game that can potentially have a big effect in the long run.
Yeah, nothing that LFO have to directly deal with that, so they will have to get vertical control. They've got the IQ, so they can actually look for where the electric core is and figure out a way to clear it. But that all takes time, on top of the fact you have to drone out to get that vertical play and just watch the person that goes in to clear it. Sometimes it might change the push completely. They might decide, yeah, you know what, that's too much work, let's rotate. So see what LFO do decide to do. Right now, Nasty is running around with his scanner out. He is looking for all of these gadgets.
Drone activated.
All of that intel. Oh, that's unfortunate for Team Ferox. But again, it is about executing off this information. It's all good and well to have it. You do have to convert it. So, oh, well, that's one way to convert it. That is Nazgul off the board. And at the back of Bunks as well.
Yeah, they successfully burnt those ADSs and just popped the nade in. Great job, Nazgul off the board. Minute 30 to play. Starting to get some control around, but they don't have the more important control. They don't have the closet wall open, and they don't have attic control right now. So this is the next step here for LFO. If they want to be able to get this pressure under Ferox, they need to be able to do that. They've spotted out the electric claw. Now it's about clearing it.
I'd imagine that will almost certainly be Mim's job if he does go underneath. Nate now just trying to find an angle from Armory. I don't know whether he's going to be able to, and I don't know how much he'd see at that. They do obviously have the open line to the trophy wall. However, it seems like the IQ... Oh, okay, IQ going down. Raven, does that turn the tides in this one?
Potentially, especially because it's been followed up. So now it's all on Sushi and Oda. They got 40 seconds to try and hold this off as well. Oda's pushed up aggressive, and this is something that might catch them off guard. In fact, he looks away as they rotate through. He's going to down one. Oh, down two. Might be possible. Oh, LFO, they are just squandering right now, trying to get this pick. Oda has found himself in attic. Sogs finally closes it out for LFO. That got scary.
I'm starting to sweat a little bit there for LFO. You would hate to see a 4v1 in such an important matchup at Ferox. Oda nearly makes it work, and I'm sure Twitch chat would have been popping off for him just then. He does receive a fair amount of love, so back into the basement, Raven, and Dorms was quite unsuccessful.
Did not work out, and back down to Laundry Supply, which we saw not go favorably in round one, unfortunately due to Todd on the smoke DCing, but when they repeated it, flawless. Actually flawless. It went very well for them.
Cheeky little six pick off of the Ash and onto the Blitz for Mims. Shade reprising his role as the Valkyrie. Now, this is an extreme, I can't stress this enough, an extremely vital round for Ferox to take. A 4-2 in favor of the attacking side would not bow favorably as we do swap sides.
You would not think so, at least. So see how Ferox can pull some things out in this round. I don't think they're going to be expecting that cheeky little blitz. So it really depends on how Mims handles this. Is he just trying to go in the face in blue, or is it more about a roam clear or try and contain other control? We'll see. Ferox are sticking the Valkyrie as well, even though the IQ was brought last round. I guess LFO decided it just wasn't worth bringing the Valkyrie. I mean, the IQ 4. So
Yeah.
we'll see what the blitz does.
That we will. Looks like they are headed towards blue with that blitz, so cheeky cam just up the top of blue. You can see the little eye. And Oda, it's going to say, may contest that. It's not going to be, and this may be the attempt to flush out Todd right here.
Yeah, and look, I think they're smoking the mirror off so that he doesn't see it coming. He's going to push deep, but there's somebody backing him up somehow. Oh my gosh, he must have flashed Todd. Todd had no idea what was going on. Mims on 5 HP does take out 2 players. Ferox crumbled at that push.
What a play, Mims. My word, stepping up fellow, and you do hate to see it for Ferox that will now have to try and claw this back. Nate nearly gives them an opportunity to there. And with how low Mims is, it's not completely out of the realms of possibility for Ferox to bring this back. You would just imagine so incredibly tight. That, however, that may just make it impossible with only Sushi remaining.
Yep. Mims down by the C4. But it's all on the back of Sushi. Nate is going to start this plant. This grenade is going to force him to stay in the closet. Beautifully placed, which means the plant will get confirmed. It's all about this post-plant positioning and what can Sushi capitalize on. He's going to start to flank around the hallway. He's a loud boy, though, so they're going to hear him coming, Manic.
Sadly so. Mims was picked up for half a second there. Sushi will have to find these individual battles and win them as well. And he will not make it past the second hurdle. A 4-2 half here for LFO, and everything they could possibly want heading into the second half of what is possibly the biggest match they will play in Oceanic Nationals.
Absolutely right. And look, that's a solid half out of LFO on those attacks. It was definitely unfortunate Ferox did not start off on the right foot. Felt like they were really going to claw it back. I honestly just felt like once Ferox evened it out at 2-2, that was going to run over the top of LFO. But yeah. LFO really, they brought it back. It's been a good momentum shift again. Now, yeah, let's see what they've got on these defenses. They're going to go to the top floor to start us off.
Yep. Definitely a slight incline in the tone for a very specific reason. We don't very often see a site be attempted other than basement on the first attempt, obviously, but really, LFO have something that Ferox may not be able to read into. We'll see how this setup is dedicated. The alibi on LFO as well, so really they see worth in it too.
Yeah, extra shield, good gun, bailiff. There's a couple of reasons that you could bring the alibi into this lineup. Sogs on quite the run here into the rear tower. Playing a bit of a Jack Daddy-esque Mozzie Pest there. Bail out though, he's not going to try a hard hold at this time.
No, and I feel like that's where Akami, on their Dawn defense anyway, I always felt like that was where things potentially went wrong, is when they really hard stuck that. So it felt like every time they tried to make something happen there, the opposing team, including last Friday night, were just able to read into it a little bit too well. So glad to see Sogs doesn't stick it in this case. Shade now, he's just going to go straight into Armory, not wasting any time here, Team Ferox. Shade is actually getting a little bit more aggressive here. So too is Sushi, so they are more than happy to try and engage in these opening fights. And boy, should they be. Huh?
Oh.
No!
The long angle from tower window. You can't stand in front of that for too long, especially if you don't have tower control. Todd, though, he gets a frag grenade onto Mim, so it has evened the score. They're going to get this wall open as well into games. So while they did lose Shade with quite a bit of utility in their pocket, I would say, they've gotten some good map control now.
Assume a C4 off the board as well on the side of LFO. Team Ferox are making good time here as they continue to push. That looks like nothing but a prone position if Oda takes down Sogs there. LFO are in quite a bit of trouble. Man count not really favoring too well, but it's not the case. Now that player in Attic just needs to be a little bit careful of how he decides to help and engage here. As Sogs, you can see him rotating back up White Stairs to rejoin the rest of LFO. Or not.
Oh, no. Actually, he's going to continue to stay vertical. Something that Ferox are going to have to be careful of. They think they've got the plan, and they've got that info that really could come back to bite them. Still a minute to play as Nazgul takes out Nasty. So Ferox with a lot of good control, and now they have a man advantage. So it is LFO's back up against the wall on this round. Gills gets aggressive though, evens it out by taking out Sushi. 3 versus 3 with 45 seconds. Could be a tough finish.
Ferox just as happy to get aggressive as LFO are too. Really feels like the battle of the aim thus far. Oda just going to be missing that one. Todd makes it down to the 3 versus 2 with Hills dropping. Nate, he'll delete Nazgul. Oh, the trades, and all of a sudden Sogs, he's here to save the round. Will he get the rotate in time? That's the question. Will they be expecting it? In comes the C4. Is it shot out? No, it's not. Oda, he's low. Does he expect him coming in from the side? The pistol doesn't come out, and Sogs will clutch it in a 1 versus 2. A big round for LFO in the start of their defensive half.
The absolute whiff. I felt like Oda on the Ash had that. Just the peak and everything. Unbelievable close, but that's LFO edging away now. This is quite significant that they are up 5-2. It's 3-round deficit, and that's quite the margin for Ferox to have to claw back through on these attacks.
Yep, it certainly is. We did, of course, just see Sushi leave the server, so we are coming back for a rehost, ladies and gentlemen. Kick your feet up, relax, grab some popcorn.
Can I?
Favorite drink. Hey?
I said, can I?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Thanks, thanks, buddy.
It's fine. You've already left me 4 times this broadcast, so why not do it again?
I've got my feet up. You can't tell, but I've got my feet up.
Oh, I thought you meant to go and get your popcorn. Sorry. Jeez, I just flamed you so hard. Then I flamed you so hard.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Thanks. Just throw me under that bus. No worries.
Bus you thrown. That is for sure. LFO 5-2 on Oregon now as they start their defensive run. Raven, this is not good signs for Ferox. And do you want to know what that's bad enough. It's even worse that Guz will win predictions if this comes true.
I knew this is where you're going with it. And, look, I agree on all fronts. It's definitely a concern for Ferox. You know, they've got 3-round deficit to try and bridge now on these attacks. They looked pretty decent on that attack, honestly. I felt like that was going to be their round, but they could not close it out. So hopefully once we get back from the rehost, whatever's going on with them, they can fix and close the gap. But it's dangerous because LFO, 1 round away from at least securing overtime. And that's, I mean, that can play a little bit in terms of mindset. Some teams can deal with that really well. Sometimes that feels like a whole lot of extra pressure. So it's, fate's in Ferox's hands right now.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I think that, you know, we saw Todd fall out of the server in the first round, and now Sushi's having issues. This is just not a good night for Ferox, and unfortunately sometimes it just goes that way. We were talking about the fact that on the day performances, on the day form is extremely important, and this has just been, you know, one thing has led to another for Ferox here, and it really has just absolutely snowballed out of control. Even in that last round with the clutch, like, does it get much worse than that for Ferox?
Yeah, the way they lost that round, I think, feels rough. To LFO's credit, though, I mean, they are stepping it up against Ferox, and to bring it back to that first half, LFO did a great job on their attacks. Whether it was those first couple of rounds, at least that got negated. You know, Ferox brought it back to be 2-2, but then after that, LFO just excelled ahead. They got another 2 rounds to take a 4-2 half. I think that's credit again to LFO. They got against that momentum, brought it back in their favor, and they weren't intimidated by the defenses or Ferox's play.
No, and that is super important, to be honest, for LFO here, because, you know, all things aside, this is a huge high pressure situation. There's no other way to look at it. This is an all on the line kind of moment. And it really, that started for LFO on Friday. Ferox, not so much. You know, they nearly secured their playoff spot on Friday with a 7-8 loss to Wildcard. They were so close to taking it as well. But the fact of the matter is, LFO started last Friday night, and we've been talking about this since last Wednesday, which is like, which team is going to peak when they need to? Which team is going to be able to perform under this pressure? And this by no means is to say that Ferox can't or isn't performing under this pressure, but I would definitely go as far to say that LFO is stepping up at the moment that they need to.
Oh, 100%. They are really rising to the occasion, and right now, Ferox, they need to as well. It felt like they were bringing it out at some points in that first half. We've only seen one round of their attacks. So, I mean, we can reserve judgment, but obviously with the scoreline as it is, we can't reserve judgment for too long because LFO, it's just 2 rounds and that's it.
Yeah.
So Ferox, there's no sitting on hands anymore. They really need to nail this. And again, like that round in particular, I honestly just thought they had a 2v1, right?
Yep.
And I don't know. Oda with his shots, unbelievable.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, we've seen Oda do some incredible things so far this season, and unfortunately, that's just not one of them. We just can't put that down as one of those nutty performances that we've seen. But I do want to give credit to Sogs there. Sogs was that sole roamer. I mean, literally, that's what more could you ask for from your roamer? Not only does he find the opening kill, he then continues to lurk under the site and ensure that no one's coming up White Stairs. He makes his way back to site in time for the plant and to deny it. So I think that without a doubt, Sogs has performed at a moment of need for LFO there. You know, it starts to come back. It's 3-4. Things are getting a little bit closer, and he just gives them the room to breathe now, the room to kind of play how they need to play, which, I mean, knowing LFO, knowing Enigma, knowing all those guys, you don't even know what's coming next. That's the thing.
It is a bit like that. And that's the thing on the flip side, is we haven't seen many rounds from LFO in this half. So what else do they have up their sleeve? We've only seen one side. They're still got to play Laundry, whatever their other third side is. That might be GG. They might win their Laundry, they might win their third side, and then it's just done. So, yeah, it's a real dangerous place for Ferox right now.
It certainly is, and it just gets worse from here. That's the problem with a 4-2 half on Oregon, at least on your defensive side. When you're down 2 rounds heading into the attacking side, you just don't have the rounds to play with that you do when the roles are flipped and reversed. You know, you do kind of need to be able to take a team to the basement and figure out, okay, that's how they like to hold. We've seen it multiple times where, you know, a defensive side will absolutely obliterate the attacking side on their first basement defense. And then the second one, it's a lot more shaky because players start to get a feel for how the defense is and what they need to be doing. So I think that at the end of the day, there's just no room to do that now. They have to be flawless from here on out. And that's to win the match. That's not even just to push it to overtime should that happen.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So it's a bit of a mindset thing right now with Ferox in that they can't feel defeated at this stage. They're still in the game. 2 rounds, and I think it kind of allays the pressure because it's only 1 round difference then. Obviously 3, it's a lot better because you even the scoreline. So take it round by round if you're Ferox. And same for LFO. I mean, they're probably tasting it right now. I'm sure in their comms, they're like, we've got this, boys. Like, we are so close, 2 rounds. So same for them. They just have to take it round by round. They could have this done in 2 rounds.
Yeah. And that's the scary part for Ferox is they're literally like, 7 minutes off potentially losing and then having to fight through the promo relegation playoffs, which need I not stress the consequences of what happens in those playoffs should you not come out the victor. So it is, you know, it is very much backs up against the wall. You have to try and find your way out of this. You have to fight your way out of this because it's the only way you're going to eventually bring yourself back to a scoreline that even looks doable. You know, at this point, even a 3-5 scoreline, I'm like, You know, like we have to see 5-5 before there's any amount of real belief that Ferox can actually do it. So, and I don't think that's necessarily the case on a lot of other maps. You know, like that's just my thoughts anyway. And I think that's it's a tough one because the rehost right now can really shake up everything, Raven. Like I'm sure you've seen it multiple times with teams. You know, you've coached a lot of teams and give you that time to just breathe and let the room sit for a little bit, or even potentially just figure out what has gone wrong.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of things to consider when you're doing rehosts, and it can have various effects on the mindset. So it just comes down to how well you can control that. It's really important. But hey, speaking of important, it's important we get back into this bad boy and see who actually gets this dub.
Let's get into it, folks. Get that fat, juicy dub. Basement is where we go. Oh, Nate, man. I get baited so hard. I just wanted to hear the screams of interrogation from across the globe. So, not gonna happen this time. But again, this is just one of those things for LFO. Like, what do they have up their sleeve? You know, we saw how effective the clash can be here, and is this just going to be even more of a roadblock for Ferox?
Yeah, let's see how Ferox read into this defense. This clash, total pain in the butt. So probably going to play around pillar or blue. We saw it earlier in the night too when the clash was brought. So I'd say that's probably the play. It's where Shade is going to come into play a lot with the Lufia. That utility is the main utility that will counter that clash. You could, as long as there's no ADSs in the way, you could potentially use air jabs to deal with the clash. You know, shoot one at the feet, you can't move in time. Something like that. But it's just something to think about.
Okay, Nate. I guess that's one way to start it out and just show face. No need to hide the clash until the real contact comes in. You may as well strike fear into your opponents early, and that's exactly what they've done. Again, a lot of attention to blue that we see. Nate will be forced away just for now, and I'm sure he will be re-peaking time and time again.
Yes, I'm sure he will. Now he can't push past this doorway, of course, because those air jabs have countered that position. So he's just going to sit at the door. And he can still give call-outs to his teammates. And I just saw the Jaeger start to go up tower stairs, so maybe they're thinking about a bit of an aggressive play here. It is Sogs. He shoots a drone and decides better of it. He's going to go back. The Shade's going to enter to the top of rear tower. Right now, this is stalling out Ferox quite significantly.
How much have they really been able to achieve? Well, they have flushed Hills off the angle, so 2 ADSs go for free, but I'm sure they're not really going to complain too much about that. Hills now making some footholds, if you will, from blue to pillars, so now they're going to have to be even more cautious pushing in. Who was that down by the side of? It's Sogs. Of course it's Sogs.
Deploying CCE.
Man is key. This is where it gets interesting, right? Nate is giving live call-outs for these aggressive positions. Sogs is poised to try and take these gunfights. Pre-fires tags Oda very significantly. And here come the stuns. They can't use it to properly capitalize. Oh my lord, the air jab just throws Nate for 6, and he gets finished off by Todd. Beautifully countered again by Ferox, I've got to say.
Jeez, they've done well to send that. It's actually the rotate that's been open there, so Hills was able to go back and do a little bit more damage. He's going to hold tight. He will be taken down. Nasty now, 1v4. I don't think this is the round for them. It's not. Ferox, my word, stamping their authority here right when it matters.
I've got to say, I felt like at about the halfway point, in my mind, I was starting to write Ferox out of that attack. I felt like LFO had done a great stall. They still had clash at the pillars. And I was like, oh, this is going to be real tough now. But Ferox just countered that so well. Once they got that wall open around that blue extension where the smoke usually is, they had the perfect crossfire. And just the combination of concussions and air jabs onto that clash was beautiful.
They really gave him no confidence whatsoever, did they? There was no room to move. He literally got quiet.
Yeah.
And here we go. LFO will be reattempting this site. And obviously this time, there is a big difference. They're not going to be bringing the Clash. They are bringing the Valk instead. So that will obviously clear a live Intel drone, if you will, for Intel of a different sort.
Yeah, see, this is a strength of LFO in this current lineup, that they seem like they're very agile and they're happy to just interchange things in and out, whether they've got strats or whether it's just a free fly thing. I feel like that has been facilitated by Nasty being brought into the roster instead of Angmo. We got a little bit of insight from Enigma on the reload on Tuesday. They just felt that Nasty's playstyle really enabled what they were trying to achieve in these final games. And look, honestly, I feel like I wouldn't say night and day, but it is definitely a drastic improvement over the early matches we saw in Oceanic Nationals.
Yep, certainly so. And I mean, it's a hard call to make, right? Because you've got to try and keep everyone happy at that point, but you just can't. And performances is a performance, is a performance, is a performance. And unfortunately for LFO, when their backs are up against the wall, it's so ingrained that you have to try and make a play. And the play seems to have worked for now anyway. Sogs this time will be on the mirror instead of that Jaeger, so let's see whether he will have any impact, whether it'll be large, small, or indifferent, as Ferox now take the rear stage control.
Yeah, they've brought the Maverick to be able to deal with this hatch, so this is going to be the end of Sogs playing in this position once this goes open from Todd. Of course, he's going to have to be careful not to get peeked through this hatch. I really wouldn't put it past someone like Sogs to decide to try and hard break it. But he's bailed away. So with this hatch open, they'll be able to open the mirror, which, is a double-edged sword in its own right, because once you pop that mirror, it actually creates a long line of sight through the bunker. That is Todd gone. There we go. Someone peeked the hatch, Matic. So now it's not open.
No. What?
Bomb located by attackers.
What
Was
was
it a
going?
flank? I didn't quite see.
Potentially a flank. Nasty is that Nasty in kit? No. Okay. Well,
Freezer.
that's wild. So no, that had to have been a kill through the. Oh my god, that is such a tight line as well.
Bomb has been located.
What?
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
We'll figure it out one day.
Yeah,
That's a
we're
bit of a
gonna-
mystery, but either way, it's that's impactful, right? Losing that Maverick without the hatch open, big deal.
Yep, certainly is. And Team Ferox are now going to have to try and decide what they need to do here. They were looking like after the rehost, that was what they needed to kind of get those tracks running again. Nate is somewhat forced off the angle. That's a good trade from Nazgul, but Hills, there's no way they expect him here. They will shoulder peek it, and LFO are crumbling on the site right now. They had pretty much everything you think they would need for this round, and Ferox, they're making their way back in, Raven.
They are 15 seconds though, and there's still 2 full HP players alive with Sushi down. So still winnable here for LFO. Oda finishes off Mims though. It's all a Nasty. Sushi closes it out. Oh boy, Ferox potentially on this comeback train. They are 1 round away from tying this up.
And that's what we said. Yeah, there's not enough belief to get straight into it. There had to be a couple of rounds here for Ferox where they were untouched by LFO, and both of those rounds on basement defense, they have gone all but flawless for their attack. 4 players left alive in both cases, and I think that this now starts to ring the alarm bells for LFO. What's going on? 5-2 up, and all of a sudden, on 2 basement defenses, the defenses that we generally assume is going to be defender-sided, they have been swarmed by Ferox, and we will change things up now, going into the dorms.
As many bombs as they can.
Saw success only, I will say, only on the back of a 1 versus 2 from Sogs. These aren't great signs, Raven.
That's true. Look, that's a really good point. We started talking about it was a danger sign for Ferox because Oda didn't get that clutch, and it was a 2v1. But LFO haven't really looked in it since that round. And yeah, you're right. Ferox could have had that attack in itself. So right now, it could be 5-4 in the opposite direction. You might see this tied up at 5-5. I'm kind of feeling it right now. So let's see what LFO have got
5
in the
seconds to
pocket
go.
to back this up.
Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb and defuse it.
And it does feel as though the story has completely flipped on its head right now. Sogs, are you looking for some sort of cheekiness? Doesn't look like anything's anywhere near him right
Defender
now.
is
So,
approaching the kill zone.
oh well,
Defender exposed.
okay. Oh my God, Sogs, what?
Jeepers.
Did he down Nazgul? What
He did.
is that, Sogs? So unfortunate not to confirm the kill there. That was the ace as well, Raven. Oh wow, Ferox can count their lucky stars.
That actually would have been very detrimental. I mean, they do still have the Maverick, but Ace is pretty important in making these attacks successful. There's quite a lot of hard bridge that you usually want to open, and Ace is the best for that. So, look, either way, it means Nazgul is just on low HP for the rest of the round. And Nazgul had some pretty impactful frags, and he is generally an aggressive player, so it's just going to make him play a touch more passive. He's not going to be fully confident in his gunfight.
And now Hills is looking to make a play as well. Geez, you can't keep track of LFO right now. Sog's coming from Z as well. Are they going to double peek main? The drone will come in. They only know about Sogs. Hills has gone undetected. Oh, wow. Sushi as well, starting to get a little bit more interested across to those roams. And LFO is going to back away, say, thank you very much, take your intel, and I am out of here.
Look, it's probably the cold because Nasty is under mountains of pressure right now. Attic. This nade comes out and misses him. The drone comes through. Todd dies to Nasty before he gets out of there. Beautifully played in the end for Attic. He got out with his life. Unbelievable. Coming to the final minute, LFO are in the advantage right now. Ferox looks like they're having a real tough time just establishing this control.
Attackers drop the diffuser.
Crazy to think that this will swing the way of LFO after the past 3-round performances from Ferox here, but you better believe it's going to. A 3 versus 5. Nazgul's low. Oda's been taken down somewhat. And Sog's taking Nazgul completely off the board now. Sushi will have to go nuclear. That's 2. His team falls in the meantime. It should be a 3rd free kill. Oh my word. Sushi,
What?
1v2. This has to be confirmed
15
for
seconds left.
Ferox.
Oh, he's not going to check hard right. Oh, he did such a good job to bring it back to the 2v1. But Nate staying very patient. All credit to Nate. He did not move a muscle the whole time Sushi was running around. As you said, Manic, I think you said it. It's in my head. LFO, they're on match point.
Dangerous waters for Ferox. They will have to go 2 rounds back to back, and we go to basement once more. LFO have already unsuccessfully attempted this site twice now. A lot on the line, as this once again is for relegations, ladies and gentlemen. Whoever loses this drops down into 7th or 8th place even, and it is done and dusted. They will have to wait until their promotion and relegation playoffs before they even get a
Defenders
look
protect
at
your bombs from
Oceanic
being
Nationals
defused by
21. Stakes couldn't be higher.
Yeah, a lot of pressure on both teams now. I mean, you might think that there's more pressure on Ferox, but honestly, the way matches seem to go in Oceanic Nationals at the moment and teams losing advantages to overtime, I feel like LFO is going to be feeling some pressure just to close this out. So
Yep.
it's not in the clear for either of these teams. I think 2 rounds, given the way Ferox have just played in the last couple, it's doable. So LFO have got to pull out some tricks here. And one thing is, they've double reinforced the wall that they've been extending through. They've changed the setup again.
5 seconds left.
This is mighty interesting to
objective is
see
to
what's
locate
going
a
to
bomb
happen
and
here.
defuse it.
Nate, oh, hello. Okay, my interest is completely piqued right now. And they're going to look for that player to come around the corner as well. I think that mine has definitely been detected. Surely.
It looks like it. Oda has a nice tight angle there as well, so if Snake does try to do this run out, it's probably going to be spotted by Oda. But his shot, I don't know how many drones, I've lost count, 2 or 3, just in this position. So already the intel damage that he is having on Ferox is significant enough where this is probably successful.
I believe he did drop all 3 of those cruise mines, so that's going to be a little bit of an issue there. Todd will just trigger the only one left, I believe. So that's all of the intel done and dusted for Nate. They do back away, and like you said, Raven, the double wall is reinforced on the other side of storage. There you go. Nazgul wasting no time in clearing it.
No wall denial though, so now that it's been given up, Ferox actually going to have really good positions in towards blue. And I was going to say, 5 drones were lost in the attempt to clear Nate out of that position. So that's great, but not great for LFO. Is Sogs dying right now. Ferox, they're looking to try and bring this back. Nate has finally been downed. They're playing pretty aggressive, and there's still a whole minute and a half of this round to go.
It is really going wrong for LFO. When it rains, it pours. Surely we will not see 3 rounds go the way of Team Ferox. Hills now, could he be monstrous on this flank? 3 players sitting toward pillars right now. He'll find one. Position is alerted and known as well. What's his decision here? It looks like it may just be to continue to waste Ferox's time. Is that hatch open for him to play from, Raven?
I mean, this could be the go signal. Is there's 2 on site, there's 4 Ferox players alive. Sometimes you just take that, but no, they're gonna push him one by one. Sushi taken down by Hills. Nazgul's trying to get this plant down. It's still possible here, Manic. It is a 3 versus 3, and that's confirmed. So now we are in post-play.
Hills has to go quite large on the back of Mims, pushing from the other side of Freezer here. Mims can't connect his shots. It's all falling apart, but Hills steps up, and Mims, oh my word, downs the Ash, but cannot confirm the second kill. And LFO are left wondering what could have been. Ferox live to fight another round, and we are potentially headed to overtime on what has been an incredible second half from Ferox.
It feels like it, and I was about to say it, but they've picked it already. I feel like they're going to go down to laundry, and here we are again. Unfortunate DC right now, though, but look, I think the laundry play is a good call because that was close. They're trying to make these adaptations on these sites, and they've got so much depth. I don't know what to say about the depth, whether it's actually strategic or it's just all on the fly, but unbelievable that they are just constantly changing this up.
So Mirror will be swapped out for... I actually can't even... I think that was for the Alof. So what I believe has happened is we've already had the rehost on the side of Ferox. So they don't have another to call here. And this could be really devastating for Team Ferox on the last round of potentially their Oceanic Nationals season. Potentially, we don't see them again in an Oceanic Nationals tournament for some time with relegations on the other side of this. I cannot stress how awful this is for Ferox to be heading in to round 12 in a 4 versus 5.
I mean, at best, best, yeah, you go.
No, okay, so we have just been confirmed. It sounds like we are going to get a rehost here. Don't stress. We are sorting that situation out. I thought for a second there's only 1 rehost per team from what I remember in the playbook, so that could have been utterly devastating. And fortunately enough, that is not the case. The rehost is going to be called. We are going to be replaying round number 12. Whew, goodness me, that was getting me all giddy.
Look, I am all giddy. I tell you what, this is right now it's feeling like Ferox have a good measure on LFO's basement defenses. So I'm feeling like this is probably going to go to OT. But like I was saying, LFO have just constantly found ways to change up this defense, whether it's through their play style, the operators they bring, all kinds of ways, and Ferox has been able to counter it over and over. So I feel like that's going to continue to happen, but you never know. They might find the magic ingredient LFO. They might find just the right change that enables them to close this out at 7-5.
Yep. You really do hope that that is the case, because as of right now, a 4-2 half on your attacking side, going into the second half, you cop the exact same score line. Really not good signs. Really not good signs. We know that there's been issues with, Ferox, LFO, and Rhythm on closing out matches that are close. This will be, okay, just to give context for Ferox, this will be 1, 2, 3 matches now that they have, well, this will be their 4th match that they have played full regulation. So I just, and lost, by the way. That could be absolutely devastating in the mind. And it's the same for Rhythm in the previous match as well. That was their 4th overtime that they've played. So there is a serious lack in this big moment play. And it has to, for me, this relies on LFO. This is not Ferox. I don't necessarily think that this is Ferox playing absolutely mental. I actually think LFO have let the ball slip here quite drastically.
Yeah, look, it's I don't know, I'm still on the fence right now. The way LFO have been playing these basement defenses, though, it's just a bit concerning in their camp. Look, if I'm Ferox, as long as they're not letting whatever these DCs are get to their heads, I feel like they've got a strong mindset to be able to push this to overtime. Something I want to start theorizing. Let's just assume we do get to overtime. I would assume whoever got to choose overtime sides probably chose defense, thinking that that's what's going to be favored. But this is 2 very attacker-sided halves, or not very attacker, but quite attacker-sided halves. So someone might be regretting that choice. I'll tell you what.
Well, especially for the ANZ region, that it would be attacking sided, which is, kind of mental to think about the fact that both of these teams have been able to pull out a 4-2 should Ferox win this round. And there's so many questions that are being left unanswered right now as we do head into what will be the final round of regulation. And there's just, it just keeps chipping away. It has literally chipped away. And this started on Friday, by the way. All of this that we're talking about now started on Friday. I mean, it started at the beginning of Oceanic Nationals, but really the storyline that we've been building for literally the past 4 or 5 hours now of this broadcast, it began the minute Friday began. And for me, it's just only elevated to the point where I would have been utterly disappointed had we not have seen full regulation or overtime in this matchup.
Look, it's very fitting. Whether LFO win this 7-5 or it goes to overtime, I think, it's fitting in this matchup. We knew it was going to be close. It's produced exactly that. I mean, it's already 12:15. We might still be seeing overtime. Probably going to be 1 a.m. finish for us again here, Matic. But that's fine. I'm totally pumped. I'm loving this game right now. And look, you talked about this kind of building from Friday. Friday last week could have completely ended this situation, right? If LFO just lost to Elevate on Friday last week, this would not be a situation. On top of the fact, if Ferox ended up closing out their game against Wildcard, which they did lose 7-8, Ferox would have already been safe in playoffs. So there's many occasions that both these teams could have, not been in this opportunity right now. But it's ended this way, and like we were saying, it's so fitting that it is this close.
Yeah, and just for the last game, we've had a 7-5, an 8-6, an 8-6, and now potentially either a 7-5 or another 8-6 or 8-7. It is so fitting, not only for the season that we've already seen, but just for the big time matches. That's what we want to see. This is the kind of pressure that we want to see these teams under, because this is where we do start to really, define certain teams in their moments. Like when did LFO step up for us? Sure, they had a great Six Masters season. Oceanic Nationals has been, I would say, quite disappointing, not just from a viewer perspective for them, but also for them just period. You know, it's a very unfortunate circumstance that they've been found in, and to be able to push on and go to the playoffs of Oceanic Nationals would be, I think it would be quite absurd for that to happen, in all honesty, considering up until Friday night, no wins, 0 points,
Yeah.
0 points until Friday night. And just, you know, touching on Ferox and what they have really achieved this season, I think it would be very upsetting to be in their situation. You know, so many close matches. They've competed against the best teams in ANZ, and it's just to fall this short of it, if it goes that way, I couldn't imagine.
I agree. And look, I think to look at it overall, I feel like Ferox has had a better season than LFO. So if I was to say, I mean, of course, it comes down to who wins this game, but based outside of this result, if I was to say who I felt like deserved to be in playoffs, I would put it on Ferox, because it's not like LFO were just always losing close games and not quite there, like the Rhythm story, for example. I felt like for most of LFO games, they just didn't play that well. They really weren't performing like a solid team. There were comms issues, which we heard a lot from Enigma. So the fact that they are still here competing for a spot in playoffs, I think they are very lucky. They've just managed to do what they needed right at the wire. That win against Elevate was out of nowhere. And I just... Yeah, they're quite lucky to even be competing for it. And right now they are in match point, of course. So they could be getting the dream. They could be getting into playoffs.
Yep, and that's it is really just a whisker away. And, you know, like the big thing about playoffs, obviously, you know, one, you still get your spot solidified for Oceanic Nationals 2021. You don't have to go through all those relegation games, which could be, you never know what's going to happen there. It's an open qualifier with the bottom two of Oceanic Nationals. Anything could happen in that circumstance. So you really don't want to put yourself there. But also you have to then think about all of the games that we've seen. They've had the potential for teams like Rhythm, LFO, and Ferox to win, no matter who the team was. And you then have to think about, okay, well, if that's the case, like these teams that we're talking, LFO and Ferox both have a chance to make it to the 6 major for Oceania, which is just absurd. You know, if they are able to claw this back, there is a real chance that we see one of them competing in that tournament, which will be at the end of November from what I know. So like, those are the kind of things that we're playing with here. It's not just getting out of relegation. It's not just being able to, you know, keep your head above water. It goes a lot deeper than that. And so realistically, when we're looking at it and we're looking at who has been the better team, the first half, hands down, LFO. But Ferox, really, you have to give them credit where credit is due. They haven't given up, Raven.
Oh, they really haven't. Some of these attacks have been fantastic. They've been in tricky situations. I mean, one that's standing out for me again is the round that we saw the Clash playing around the pillar. And the Clash had burnt away half the rounds. I just felt like at that stage, it was in the bag for LFO. They just had to delay the time. They had everything ready for denial. But Ferox, they fought. They got the control of the walls. They held the right angles and used their utility perfectly to counter that Clash, and then they just ran over the top of LFO on site. So just plays like that, I agree. Like seeing Ferox just execute with precision, I felt like they have had shinier moments than LFO. And like, I'm not trying to discount anything away from LFO's performance right now. Of course, they are up 6-5. They're the ones on match point. But yeah, like Ferox have been fighting tooth and nail for this.
Yeah, and it would be, I would like to see this go overtime to finish the match off, just to give Ferox that extra chance of coming back, because really they've had 2 unfortunate DCs. They've also had that issue with Todd in the first round falling out midway through. Like there's just been a variety of reasons why Ferox have had it rough so far. And I really do, there is a part of me that wishes that if this does go to overtime, that we do see all 3 rounds, because it really would determine at the end of the day what the victor truly deserves. And with LFO, just very quickly touching on that nasty replacement. That sounds really bad, doesn't it? That nasty replacement, nasty replacing Angmo, nasty the player, of course. It really has kind of shaken up the team, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. I mean, they almost look like they're a different team. Just some of the sheer coordination issues they were having earlier in the season, whether that's comms based or just player based, hard
Yep.
to say from our perspective. But they just look more like a reinvigorated team. And something that does concern me about that is sometimes you see when you have a new player in the roster, even though Nasty was a sub, he played with them in Six Masters. Regardless, sometimes when you do get a new player in the roster, you do get these little, I refer to them as like honeymoon phases, where it's like things go really well and you get like a bit of a boost in performance, but then it wears off. On top of that, it can come down to things like teams VODing LFO would VOD for a certain playstyle based on their old performances in this season.
Yes.
But when you sub Nasty in, obviously their playstyle's changed. So you're now VODing or counter-stratting old info. So I think that can definitely have a play as well, which will wear off with time. The more that they play with this lineup, that just wears off.
Yeah, so the gimmick of having that player in that kind of changes everything up, that goes away after a certain time. And I think that if you do cast your minds back to Six Masters, we did see them look quite comfortable. But again, you could even make the point that because they were so fresh in the scene, you know, before that, we hadn't really seen a lot from them at that level. Potentially that was one of a very similar case where they just, you know, there wasn't a lot to look at. There wasn't a lot to research on them. So I think that really, you know, that we make a case for that in Six Masters and then making a case for it at the end of Oceanic Nationals. That's just, it just is the way it is, you know, and I think that Ferox right now have adapted well to what LFO have done. And I definitely don't want to take away from what what Ferox are doing, you know, with these rounds, because for 3 of them, you know, the very first round on their defensive, rather attacking side, it was a 1v2 that Sogs managed to win. Their second and third round were merely flawless. Like it was, they completely locked out LFO in those rounds. So at the end of the day, it really has been building up toward Ferox back in this. Now, the rehost, what does that bring? You know, the rehost, are we going to see, like, it's a complete reset. It honestly is. It's a best of 1 round, Raven. Like, that is all that's in it right now.
Basically, I mean, that depends, right? Like, if LFO just win this round, you're right, it's just done. But with Ferox, they at least get overtime if they win the round for sure. You're right. It just it's really interesting what happens with this rehost. What I'm thinking is, you know, we've talked a lot about relegations, and maybe some people are still confused, like why that's so bad, right? If you're in the relegation zone, in this instance, of course, you're going to be the bottom 2 of Oceanic Nationals, and it means you'll be playing against the top 2 from an open qualifier that will be at a date later in the year. And if you don't finish in the top 2 of that promo relegation tournament, you don't get back into Oceanic Nationals. And that is a full 12-month season, because that's the program we're on now. We're on 12-month seasons. So that's a long time to not be competing at this level. You have to fight your way back. So while I have full faith that no matter who loses here, and same with Rhythm, I think those teams will be back, at least for next season. You don't know. It's like you were saying earlier, Manic. Surprises have happened, and especially in those kinds of tournaments, sometimes a team will just come out of the woodwork, seemingly out of nowhere. You won't have much info. Their playstyle will just be nuts, and that can be enough.
Yeah. Especially for teams like Ferox and LFO, you know, I know that Ferox play in other competitions as well, and it's kind of like, well, there are so many VODs that teams can look at that. You know, there's so much pressure that can be put on these kind of teams because of the fact that they've been sitting in the tier 1 scene for so long. And not only that, you know, there's breakdowns of people's rounds that players are now starting to post, you know, the highlights of comms and things like that. So it's like, there is a lot more insight into these tier 1 Oceanic teams that I think is more than just that surface level. You know, there is another level that really comes into it in those open qualifiers. So that's just one of the things that you got to get used to. But ladies and gentlemen, it's time. It is time. I just want to say thank you very much for tuning in and sticking with us if you did. We very much appreciate it, and we are so sorry for those technical difficulties. You can understand the importance of this round. It is the last round of regulation. This could potentially mean that LFO go to the
Defenders, protect your
playoffs,
bombs from being
or
destroyed by
it
attackers.
means we've got 3 more rounds to play. So it's not a very cut and paste situation. So we appreciate you for sticking around, and we hope you enjoyed this last round.
Yeah, look, I'm sure this round's going to be quite the banger. Seeing a classic extension here in towards blue. Something we don't see often, though, was a double reinforcement at pillar. And now they're also extending up into meeting. So we might be seeing a roam. Nasty is on that castle. Where is he going to put those barricades? Maybe we're going to see
Attackers have located
this
a bomb.
extended roam on the top floor.
10 seconds left.
Maybe not, actually. It looks like they're just going to be giving up blue. I'm not going to say for free because they do have that extension. I see a hole in this already, though, in that they
Attackers are
don't
heading
have
out
that
to
line of
defuse
sight
the
from
bomb.
pillar. They've castled the door, so no one is there to cover Nate. Like, Nate is here to hold this, or he's dead.
Well, that is an interesting strat. Bold move, Cotton. Let's see how this works out. And look, we've seen some pretty nutty things from Nate, so you would still somewhat back him in a situation. But with how much Ferox have really taken control of blue, 3 drones right now, so much information that they're gaining there. And Todd, okay. Well, that is how you quickly dismiss any control of blue. See you, Nate, and thank you very much for playing.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe that's some kind of a bait. We'll see how this plays out, but either way, that's a very quick, easy flush. Nothing to really protect the shield. Shield's gone. Yeah, we'll see. But look, Hills is holding meeting. They've got hatch open, so they have extended above. You do see the castle on the double door of meeting in towards the lobby, with a wall reinforced on the garage side. Nasty holding from freezer stairs, so yeah, they are protecting this meeting floor. And this is a variable that Ferox haven't had to deal with yet, and it's quite a different variable. It's not just a different operator. Significant difference in the setup.
Certainly is, and we saw this happen literally in the game before with Wildcard, so this could be extremely interesting and a great adaptation from LFO so late in the matchup. Can he hit that Electric Claw? That's the question. Oh my word. He's a whisker away.
Bit of a struggle, I tell you what. And look, he's going to start to Maverick trick this wall. Nate is on the other side, is electrified, but Nate can't do anything about denying that further.
Attackers bomb diffuser
They are going to have to use quite a bit of
Attackers
time
recover the
to open this wall. They still have to soft breach it once they actually get the trick successfully. Shay just got tagged up heavy in a gunfight. He's taken Pillar though, so the map control has started to look good for Ferox. I don't think they've got meeting yet though, Manic.
No, they don't. Potentially, they're just completely giving that up, but that could be a huge mistake. Hills could just play a monstrous effect here, and you can see now Hills with the vision directly into E-Room. They're going to have to deal with this. Surely they can't just continue to dismiss what this is, Raven.
I don't think so. I mean, Hills, I swear he could have just gone on the other side of Hatch and would have been able to get a kill. And Ferox is just going to go. They're going to start to get the picks. Hills follows up. Oh my god, they all just fell. It's all on Sushi. Ferox's season is down the drain. LFO close the round. They're going to go into playoffs, and Ferox, they're going to be fighting for their lives in the relegations.
What on earth is that last round? Ferox file in and the trades are not there. The kills do not bow favorably, and LFO close it out in the last round of regulation. That, ladies and gentlemen, will solidify LFO as playoffs. They make 6th place. What has happened?
Gobsmacked. They finally made a basement defense work, for one thing. And look, I'm gonna break it down. I think Ferox really made a mistake by not putting even just the slightest pressure into meeting. I mean, Hills didn't even have that much of a role, but they must have gone quickly because of that, right? Once Hills started making some shots from Hatch, Ferox were just like, you know what, let's go. It forced them to make a rash decision and played into LFO's hands. So even though Hills didn't get a direct impact from his kills, just that Hatch pressure, Ferox knew. They couldn't rotate back up to meeting. They left it too long. They had to just go. So I think in the moment, Ferox probably made the right call at that time. but earlier
Yeah.
in the round, I think they should have done more about meeting.
Which, I mean, like, that is going to be a big talking point because obviously the ability to adapt is really what we know Siege to be nowadays. That is what we have really spoken about for so long, is adapting on the fly and is making those last minute calls. And really, you do have to give props to LFO there. That was a strat that they had not used the entire map. They pull it out right at the last round for them to take it. So really well played from LFO. And I think that that just goes to show, you know, you saw how many times they were trying to change things up on their defensive side. So props to them. It finally works, but geez, that was close. And Ferox fought tooth and nail for it.
They did. And look, I guess we should start focusing on the victors. LFO, they came out of the gates firing, as they always do, right? Or as they did, at least against Elevate. And they just kept it going. The adaptations, changes, I don't reckon much of that was planned, to be honest. I felt like a lot of it they were just doing on the fly. They were going with the vibe, so to speak. And I was worried about them because it just felt like on those basement defenses, no matter what they changed, it didn't feel like it was working. And they finally, like I was saying in the rehost, they finally found the golden mixture that got them the win.
Yeah, certainly did. The team, unfortunately, that copped the loss, being Ferox, we do have Sushi on the line to talk to. Sushi, I am very sorry. This is not a fun interview for us whatsoever, so we'll keep it short and sweet, my friend. Can you pinpoint anything that went particularly wrong outside, obviously, of Todd crashing in the first round, and I think it was yourself having the crashes throughout the game? Can you pinpoint anything in particular?
Just felt like we were hard trolling ourselves in and out of the game. We just weren't able to formulate a good solid attack, and when we came across something that we were unable to clear, we weren't adapting, especially on that last round. We couldn't open the single wall in, what was a pillar, which really ruined our entire attack. So we just weren't even adapting at all. We were just playing right into them and then just losing gunfights as we went. So obviously we lost. But,
yeah, look, I don't know if I really have any particular questions, but you guys had a strong season without the results to show for it. It's an unfortunate way for you guys to bow out. And even in this match, you guys fought tooth and nail. Obviously, 7-5 is a very close game. So, I mean, I have confidence in you guys going into relegations. I honestly don't know what to ask you, mate. I feel for you, honestly.
Look, that's completely fine.
Like it's
Sushi, did you want to add anything? Yeah.
Look, it was really unlucky tonight. Todd crashed the first defense round. I reckon we would have won that with Todd there. And then I crashed, and then my internet just cut out. It was just everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. It was just one of those really terrible situations. So it was just unfortunate.
Speaking of, we've lost Raven there, so that seems very typical, Sushi.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my goodness. But anyway, Sushi, it's look, mate, I don't really have too much to say to you because it's very unfortunate. It's a sad time to be speaking to you, but you still have the relegation playoffs ahead later in the year. So we wish you the best of luck, mate, and unfortunate on the loss.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Oh, beautiful. That's so unfortunate, man. I don't really know what we're really going to be able to say in a situation like that, because I know for a fact that there were multiple things that went wrong for Sushi and Ferox in that encounter. Raven, I think you're still there, aren't you? Yeah. Yeah, cool.
To just watch me be here like this, so I just thought I'd quickly close my cam.
Schvetty boy. Well,
Something like that.
I just, I feel really bad for Sushi, and obviously the team at Ferox. They've had such an incredible season, and it doesn't matter how many times we say that, Raven. We could sit here and talk about it until the cows come home, because really, you just look at what they've been able to achieve, and unfortunately, falling shy of it is just, it's devastating for them.
Yeah, it really is. They had such a good season, and we can say it all we want, like you said. unfortunately, somebody has to finish bottom 2. And even if you do have a good season, it is about the results. So that's just how it is. As you said earlier, it's the way the cookie crumbles. It's unfortunate, but I've said it a few times. I have full confidence that they'll probably make it out of relegations. They've looked so solid during this season. I just don't foresee a team coming up out of those open quals being able to go toe-to-toe with them.
No. So I hope so, because in all honesty, from what they've really done and what they've achieved, they deserve that fully. They do not deserve to miss out on 2021, which is very much a possibility now. Do you want to know who's not going to miss out on 2021, Raven?
Who's that, Manic? Who's that?
It's Enigma. Enigma, welcome. Look at that big cheesy grin.
Hello.
It's the moon.
How
man.
are you? Where's the suit? I need to see the suit.
This is the suit. This is the suit we're prepping today. This is one of my favorite ones, actually, as a matter of fact. My favorite ones. I wear it for special occasions, of course.
Classic.
Mate, high hopes right now. It's a big congratulatory interview, if that's even a word. But I think that it's cause for celebration for you and the team, pulling it back right at the last minute, not just in this game, but obviously last week as well, to give yourself the opportunity. So, I mean, how on earth did that game play out the way it did? Because it looked insane.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, like, we know that a lot of people, like, we've got plenty of odds, just like on Cafe with what happened with Elevate, just like on Oregon. So we just changed things up. And consequently, you know, people relying, as, you know, we were talking about on the Reload episode, too much on old information. And then when they see something new, you know, completely stumps them. And I mean, it's unfortunate about the DCs and whatnot, but at the end of the day, DCs or not, you know, if they were the better team, they would have won. And that wasn't the case.
Yeah, look, I'm going to start looking forward to playoffs for you guys. Obviously, you've made it there now. You probably haven't had a whole lot of time to think about it, but how are you feeling moving forward into playoffs? Like, do you foresee that your troubles are behind you, or are there still things popping up in these matches that there's a bit of a cause for concern for you guys?
I mean, that last match just then, you know, the amount of times that we went basement, and the clear obvious thing that we just needed to do was have wall denial. So I think it's just, you know, going back over those VODs and just looking at things and then just trying to identify where we need to do. I mean, I'm stoked as for playoffs, and I mean, we're in absolutely 100% better position now than we were obviously at the start of the season, or even mid. The start of the season was not too bad. So I'm actually very keen, and I'm very confident to hopefully have a good run in playoffs as well too. But the most important thing is we're not in relegation, so that's all that matters.
That's
it. You got the dub. You made it count. You made it count right at the last second. Well, I do have to say this. You have an opportunity right now to speak to any orgs that are currently looking at this stream. Do you have anything that you'd like to say on behalf of the team, as you are currently looking for an organization?
For sure. I mean, prior to me addressing the orgs, I'd like to say that you both were wrong in your predictions, and Guz and Ducky. Good stuff, fellas.
God
Good stuff, fellas. And Guz, congratulations on actually coming first. So, I don't know what to tell you guys. So, unlucky, I guess, is the word. You should have trusted me a little bit more, but that's all right. But as far as the orgs go, on the other hand, we're coming back. You know, just prepare to see what's coming up in playoffs right now. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not going to toot our horn, not until I see us, you know, making it in the top 3 position there, at least. And then, you know, as I said, then you can reach out to us. But until then, just watch this space, see what happens.
Yep. Beautiful. Thank you very much, Enigma. It is great to talk to you, and congratulations once again, mate. We'll see you in the playoffs.
Thanks, boys. Catch ya.
Playoffs! We now get to direct our attention to next Friday, Raven. How good is that?
Oh, look, I'm super excited for playoffs. The season has just been insane. I mean, we've said it about 100 times tonight, but it has. And I think it's only going to start really heating up in playoffs. We move to best of 3s, which has a whole different dynamic for these teams. And I think we're going to see some really competitive series.
I could not agree more with you. And, I mean, you just mentioned competitive series. Today was just full of competitive matches. Let's have a look back on what was a mental night, man. Again, it is just match after match after match of Barnes being on fire. It is incredible that these two last play days have gone the way they have. They have really shaped up what has been an incredible season.
They have. Every game was totally fitting for the stakes and the situations that these teams were all in. And it's been a stellar night, I tell you what. And a great display of Oceanic Siege, just showing how even our region really can be, because for a long time people maybe thought that it was a bit top heavy, especially while Fnatic was still here. And then even afterwards, Six Masters really showed that Wildcard potentially presented the region to be a bit top heavy. But I think this season has just been, it's been great. The matches have just been generally very close.
It certainly has. So we can recap the season right now for you, Brandon. We can have a look at the standings and what they look like at the end of Oceanic National regular play. We'll see Wildcard out on top. Always expected that. However, there were many times we had it in doubt. You can see from their performances throughout the season, it was not as close as, well, sorry, it really wasn't as close as what it shows there, because there were so many times where Wildcard nearly dropped a map. However, only losing one keeps them in that top seed. Knights just scraped through on the back of their victory tonight, and all the way down to the bottom. It is a somber time for Ferox and Rhythm Raven.
It is. And look, I just want to make it clear for people that might be questioning, like, oh, LFO, their round difference is much worse than Ferox. When it comes to tied points, it comes down to the head-to-head between those teams first. So because LFO did get the victory against Ferox when they're tied points, LFO goes that spot above. So that's how they have managed to get into 6th place. But you can see there they are the 6th playoff finalists. And I'm just so excited to be able to get stuck into these playoffs next weekend.
Yeah, certainly so. I mean, just very quickly, Elevate jumping up to 3rd spot as well. Quite incredible to see that. We also have the bracket ready, ladies and gentlemen. The bracket that we will be watching come next Friday night. You will not want to miss it. Best of 3 formats all the way up until that juicy and gorgeous grand final. The lower bracket, this is really important. The lower bracket, Raven, it starts where? It starts after the semifinals, correct?
That's correct. So if you do lose your quarterfinal, that will be the playoff run over. Of course, you're not out of Oceanic Nationals 2021. That's important. These 6 teams, they will be persisting next season. So just reiterating, they're safe. But you don't want to lose your quarterfinal, because that will be your playoff chances squandered.
Yep, certainly will be. So that is where we're going to line up. It will be Okami taking on Noble for the first matchup, and Elevate and LFO for the second. We'll have to wait and see what the actual scheduling is to make sure that that is confirmed. But that is how the end of the season is going to play out for playoffs of the Oceanic Nationals. You will not want to miss that. I promise you right now. If the Nationals has been anything to go off, this will be, I think it'll be an unprecedented event in our region, Raven.
Oh, look, I'm definitely seeing some exciting series. It sounds cliche to say, but seriously, like, this season has produced some fantastic results, some really fun, entertaining matches to watch, cast, however you're treating the games. Playoffs is going to be no exception, and it's not about just playing for the prize money of Oceanic Nationals. It's also about getting into the 6th major for November. So the top 3 from playoffs will get a major spot. That's a big deal. You get 6 invitational points at the major. A Wildcard, in particular, they're fighting for their 2nd batch, and they could be getting a 6th invitational berth out of it.
Yep, they certainly could. There is so much to be played for yet, so you will not want to miss it, ladies and gentlemen. You want to make sure you check out the Rainbow Six ANZ on all socials to keep up to date with what is going on. It all kicks off next Friday for the playoffs for the Oceanic Nationals, guys. Thank you very much for joining us this season. It's been a pleasure to bring you all of the action. Stay tuned, and we will see you next Friday.
Demons in my my best. I still want something that can last. You make me feel like I'm okay. We both know that you feel the same. Ooh, baby, I got nothing else to prove. You talking about your best at me. Remember that you always get to choose. Talk to me. I just want a little bit of company. You acting like you really wanna fall for me. But baby, can you tell me who you wanna be? Yeah. Talk to me. I just want a little bit of company. You acting like you really wanna fall for me. But baby, can you tell me who you wanna be? Yeah. I don't wanna.
5 seconds remaining.
I don't wanna be friends, yeah, I guess you got my intention. Got no place I'd rather be, feel like another dimension. I don't wanna talk, baby, you should let it go. I don't wanna go, let me stay a little more. Now talk to me, I just